Okay, 3, 2, 1.
Yeah.
The show started. Oh, good to go.
Hi. Honestly, you started like that.
All right.
Hi.
The last memory that I have of you.
Yes.
Actually, before I wanted to start this show with this opening line. Okay.
Go ahead.
No matter how successful, powerful, or wealthy you get,
Yeah.
I will always have the privilege, the honor of the only man who fired you from from. So let me give you some background on this, so that people know what's going on. Sherjil and I used to. This guy is so wild and creative and just thinks outside of the box. That's how him and I got together. He used to be the lead guitarist of a band that we started together, and he was amazing. He had the best ideas, but his problem was that he was never on time at any show.
Yes, I still am not.
Yeah, and I'm not just talking about late. When I talk about late, this guy would show up at the time of the show when the entire band is on the stage with a shopping bag.
I didn't even have a gear bag at that point. It was just a shopping bag with all the wires.
Yeah, and then
do you remember? You remember the show we did in Jersey for Junoon and the guitar?
I'm trying to do a serious show here. Hold on. Okay, what makes this even more inspiring and impressive is that how the hell did you become so freaking disciplined, man? From that Sherjil that I know that was so crazy, and just like you were all over the place. And I remember you were always genius, creative, like smart, always thinking outside. I knew you always had that, and you always like, ambitious, and you had ideas, really cool ideas. But then, I remember going to school with you. You were always cutting class. We were always hanging out, and you were one of those types.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, I see that you started your own company. You started your own new app, and it's picking up like wildfire. So kind of walk me through this transition. We've been out of touch for such a long time. So kind of walk me through this whole transition. How did you become so disciplined, and how did this whole thing start? What is this whole thing?
Well, I'm still not disciplined. It still is. it's a process, I think, with everything. But yeah, I mean, before this app, you remember, like I started the first company, which was E&E, which you kind of knew a little bit about, which was making apps for other businesses, right? The one thing I realized about myself, I couldn't do business to business marketing. That means I couldn't go approach another business, try to convince them, like, hey, why you need this product, why it's going to be beneficial for you. And so that business failed, right? And then I, like, throughout the time when I was like, kind of a little bit depressed about, like, okay, like, I definitely want to go into business. I want to start my own thing. But what direction? What do I do? There's so many things. I can sell T-shirts. I can create another Amazon. Like, what was
your degree, and what were you studying at school?
Physician assistant.
Oh, you were studying the same thing at school, so you had the background in it.
Well,
Rutgers.
No, at Rutgers I was doing undergrad. I was doing psych.
Okay.
Then I had a 1.7 GPA in my first semester.
Wow.
Then I transferred out to City College. And I thought I was like, okay, this is it. I'm
telling you, this interview is gonna be such a famous interview. When you make it, this interview is the killer one. All right, let's go. So what?
Well, because that right, like, that's the story. Like, and people like look at that and they're like, like, how did you become a PA? Because I had a 1.7 GPA. I got kicked out of Rutgers. Went to City College. I was like, okay, this is it. I'm going to actually sit there and study and, do it. Ended up with a 2.7 GPA, and then at that point I got exposed to...
Let me clarify something.
Yeah.
I don't want people to misunderstand, and I'm not trying to gas you up. Like, honestly, you're one of the smartest people I've ever known, because you and I used to have crazy philosophical conversations that nobody I've really enjoyed with,
I would disagree with that. I don't think I'm the smartest person. I'm sure you know a lot more of the smart people. The one thing I do have is perseverance, right? Like, I try not to give up. If I really want to do something, I get it done. And that really, I feel like, is the key to success in anything. Whether you're trying to become a PA, whether you're trying to become an artist, whatever you're doing, perseverance is the number one thing.
I understand that, but I'm saying you can't really judge like someone's intelligence by a GPA, right? Because the kind of conversations I've had with you, like those were very intelligent conversations that most people can't think on that level.
Agreed. Yeah. I personally think and again, this is my opinion, college education is not necessarily a waste of time. It's good to have a backup and good to have a degree, but it does not, exactly what you're saying. A GPA does not prove who you are as your intellect as a person or your work ethic. Like, it has nothing to do with it. It just shows that, okay, you took this curriculum, you passed the exams, and you got, you have a degree for it, right? That's all pretty much, in my opinion. That's
so where did you go from psych to what was the next step? Where did you go after that?
Well, at that point, I realized I wanted to help people, right? Like, I wanted to do social work initially, and then I'm also a practical person, right? I realized that based on my lifestyle, the things that I enjoy doing, a degree in psych would not couple with the amount of money that I would want to make or how I would want to spend my life. Because when you look at it, this is what I explain to people. Even if you want to buy a bottle of water, it costs $1. Even if you want to buy a house, you need to pay rent. You want to drive a car, you need to pay your bills, right? So I kind of audited myself, like, okay, will a degree in psych or social work give me that the money that I want, as well as be able to help people? So that's where I got exposed to the PA profession. So it was PA, basically, it's a relatively new field, started in the 1970s in the US, where you go to PA school, which is like medical school, for 2 years instead of 4 years.
I see.
Right?
Okay.
And then you are thrown out there in the work field, and you start working as a PA. So the majority of your learning is done in the clinical setting.
And it's funny you say that. You say that because I had a conversation with a surgeon in one of my episodes. I think it's episode 5 or 6, and he was actually saying that now that he looks back at all the time he spent, the smartest approach for him would have been to. He didn't say for him, but he said that one smart approach that he recommends people to take is to go your route, the PA route. So.
So one good thing, and you'll agree with this knowing my personality, one good thing about the PA profession is that I could switch specialties, right? So initially when I started, I got a job in family medicine. Then I got into urgent care. So after that, I got completely burnt out from urgent care because I was working a lot of hours. I'm like, okay, I'm going to switch my specialty. I got into orthopedic spine surgery for about 8 months. In the PA field, that is the best factor. That is the thing that really attracted to me. The fact that I can switch specialties. For an MD, if you go into emergency medicine, you're a surgeon.
You're stuck.
And if you hate it, you're stuck. You have to go back and do residency all over again. So that was a big factor, but I wasn't tied down to one specialty, right?
Okay.
So that's a very big factor in the PA profession that a lot of people gravitate towards, right? Because honestly, like with anything else in life, medicine is experience, right? You are going to be a great cook, for example, after you've been cooking for a while. You can't expect to cook really well on your first unless you have a God-given talent, right? And same thing with the PA profession. A lot of people are like, oh, you're a physician assistant. Why won't you go back and go complete medical school? After 5-6 years of practicing medicine, it's the same patients, the same conditions, the same disease. I'm not title hungry. I'm not degree hungry. Like, I don't care whether I have an MD or a PhD next to my name or whatever. It's like, what is a knowledge that I know and how I can apply that to help someone.
I gotcha.
And the PA profession allows you to do that. And it's been top 5 like professions for job growth and work-life balance and pay. You're making 6 figures as soon as you graduate. Like, which other degree do you know like that will allow you to do that, right?
Crazy, man. That's
yeah. And the other thing is, like, you get to help people. Like that was a big, when I chose my profession and something that I wanted to do for the rest of my life, where I could see myself waking up every morning and doing, was I want to be around people. I don't see myself working in a cubicle and not interact with people. Like, that was one thing that I wanted. Now, as far as the healthcare system, that's a whole different topic. We're not going to get into that. That could be a different episode. Of how.
I think you jumped into, while you were a PA, we had a few interactions, and you actually presented an idea to me as well, where you got into app development and you were starting to explore ways of making apps. What was that transition like? How did you start exploring the IT world? That's my world, right? How did you get into the development world? What opened that door for you?
It was just looking around you, like constantly seeing people on their cell phones and how technology was really impacting human life, right? Like how it impacts us day to day. and that was something that I wanted to be a part of. Because technology is something that you can be, whether you work in agriculture, whether you're working in medicine, whether you're working in whatever field you're working in, technology is taking over, right? AI and just in general, and that is a very powerful tool to have, especially this day and age where there's so much opportunity on the internet and to start something on the side. So that's really kind of how I started getting into it. And like that first business was the E&E, which was to create mobile apps for small businesses. That was the whole business plan, which didn't work out. And then I came up over the couple of years. I came up with I want to create this platform, which is myPAbox.
So wait, the first idea, what was the takeaway? What was the lesson learned from why didn't it work out?
Because I couldn't do business to business. I suck at sales.
Okay.
That was the thing. Like, we had a sales team and things like that, but like for example, we went up to a car dealership and we wanted to make an app for them, and just to convince that car dealership owner, like, hey, why should you use an app in this day and age and have your customers interact with your own personalized app? A lot of people didn't get it. A lot of people didn't see the value. And then I realized I wanted to do business to consumer, right? So I wanted to directly be able to approach the consumer and have them see the value in the product that I'm selling. And so that was the main thing. Like, I realized I can't do business.
So what opened your mind towards what now is known as PAbox? Where did the idea come from, and what made you start a light bulb in your head that, hey, I could do this?
Yeah. So in order to get into PA school, a lot of schools require you to shadow a PA. That means something like, for example, when I applied to PA school, I shadowed a PA in Elmer's Hospital in neurosurgery, because they want you to be exposed to what you're getting into, right? And for some schools, it's a requirement. So as students were shadowing me to apply to PA school, I would ask them, like, hey, what are your stats? Like, what's your GPA? How many healthcare hours do you have? Which schools are you applying to? And they would pull out Excel sheets, Word documents, notebooks, binders, and I was like, wait a minute. In this day and age, there's no platform that helps you organize and matches you with PA programs and tells you which PA schools you apply to. Because right now, what you have to do if you want to get into PA school, if Amish decided tomorrow he wants to apply, you would have to go to Google, research all these PA schools, look at the requirements, keep track of them, go fulfill those requirements, and just stay organized with everything. So myPAbox pretty much is like, it's a Excel sheet on steroids, right? Like, it helps you match with PA schools, tells you which PA schools to apply to, allows you to keep track of which courses you need to take, like an organizer. And pretty much that's
is it difficult to get into PA schools, and is that really is it difficult and tedious to manage all these different requirements?
Yeah. So it basically, for example, I'm also a preceptor for the York PA program, right? So the students, when they do their externship or the clinical rotations, every 5 weeks they do like surgery, they do emergency, things like that. I precept the ambulatory medicine rotation, right? So for that particular school, last year they had 3,000 applicants for 30 cities, right? So you could see how competitive it is. Like, you're fighting, 3,000 people are fighting for 30 seats. So it is very, very competitive, just because the job growth projected for the next 10 to 15 years is very high.
Okay, but what's your ultimate goal? Where are you? What's the vision of this product, and where do you see that 10 years from now?
So we currently are. So myPAbox is. So the name of the company is technically Early Development Utility (EDU Box), right? What we want to do is make these boxes for multiple graduate level programs. Like, for example, the next box that we're working on is my dental box. Then we're going to be working on my MD box and my RN box and my farm box and my law box. We want to basically take all the graduate level programs and kind of market it to the student, like, hey, which field do you want to go into? And kind of like, there's a lot of ideas that we have, like, we want to kind of like help it become like an interactive guidance counselor. Like, so if Amish is like, okay, what career should I pick for my graduate level? Like, what do I want to do? You go on EDU Box, which is going to be the platform, and it's going to ask you like a personality test, like, hey, what do you enjoy doing? Do you like writing? Do you like reading? Or are you more into logic? Like, okay, maybe you should go into law. Or do you right? This is going to be like a personality test in there, and then it's going to guide you
like a counselor.
To which exactly, and make it interactive, right? Let the AI, based on the choices that you're picking and your personality, kind of analyze all that information and help you guide to like, hey, these are the couple of professions you should be looking into based on what you've inputted, right? So that's the ultimate goal for the
So
company.
the PA box right now, that's the main flagship product that you're offering, or all these other flavors already in development or something?
My dental box is what we're working on right now. So we're actually doing the data gathering, the data mining, and looking at like all the dental school requirements, putting them into the database. So that is in the works, and that's going to be probably, hopefully, launched by the end of this year.
Okay.
So again, and the other thing I realized, like for anyone that's into business, like that, always start niche, right? Like so, we could have done broad, we could have done dental, we could have done this, but in our opinion, the way that we worked, we started with something that we knew, and I think that's very important with business. Like you need to know the market that you're going into. So that's why we chose the PA route, because me and my partner were both PAs, and then we're going to branch out into the dental, MD, RN, farm, and all the other boxes, and launch them.
So now that you've been through the whole journey and you know all angles of it, right? You know how to become a PA. You've actually are creating an app that's helping the PAs. You're actually looking at it from the other angle of the institutions that are teaching the PAs, and then the job placement angle. So you're covering all angles. If you could kind of touch on all these different aspects of the PA industry, starting from the person who's considering to become a PA, what are some of the don'ts? Like, what are things that you would avoid and say that, hey, these are some of the things that if you want to become a PA and start a career in this field, avoid this, not go that route, and try to get there quicker? What were some of the smart cuts you took?
Well, my story is a little bit different, right? Like I was telling you, like I got a 1.7 at Rutgers, 2.7 at City College, and then I decided I wanted to become a PA. I went to a PA program, and I was like, hey, I went to Toro College, I sat down with the guidance counselor, and I was like, hey, I want to become a PA. He pretty much smirked at me. He's like, there's no way you're going to become a PA, right? He's like, your GPA is very low. I'm like, I really want to do this. You tell me, what do I have to do to do it? We're like, okay, you start from scratch. So that means all your credits and everything you've done at Rutgers and City College mean nothing. Zero. You start from freshman year again, and I was a semester away from graduating with my bachelor's degree, right? And if you prove to us that it was your circumstances and your like the fact, not that you don't understand the material and you can't take science classes, but the fact that you weren't organized or whatever the case was that you're telling us, you prove to us and you maintain a 3.5 and above, we'll guarantee you a spot into the Toro PA program. So I was like, okay, give me a letter in writing that you guys are willing to offer that to me, and I'll do it. And so I was a senior in college. I went back and started as a freshman again. And so that was my story, right? Like what I would recommend for someone that's starting in this profession, right from day one.
Also, wait a minute. So you're saying this is this perfect for somebody who has basically no education at all? Like if you're just like driving Uber or something like this, and you want to start a career in PA, is it can I mean, I understand you gotta know how to speak English and know a little bit of math.
Yeah.
But like if you have those basic skills, can you start from scratch, from zero?
Yeah. If someone is like, for example, applying to PA schools is very similar to applying to medical school. You need to take the prerequisites, the pre-med route. So take your biochemistry, anatomy, physiology, organic chemistry, physics. Some schools require, some schools don't. But it's pretty much very parallel to the pre-med route.
Is it expensive, or you still have to take loans?
PA school? So average, most of the PA schools are anywhere from 50,000, I would say 100,000 to 150,000 for the 2-year program.
Okay, but it's a 2-year program. It's not like
sorry, I'm just gonna plug in my. Sorry, give me one second. I'm just gonna plug in my laptop. It's about to die.
Yeah, no worries.
All right.
So yeah, basically, but it's still better than becoming a surgeon or a doctor, where it's like $450,000, $500,000 loan.
Exactly. You don't. Yeah, correct. You're gonna save. You're going back to your Econopsychology. It's you get to practice medicine. Like I prescribe, I treat, I diagnose. There's no attending on site. So that's the other thing with a PA, that you don't need direct supervision. Like my MD is out playing golf or something like that, while I'm running the clinic. And if I need to get in touch with him, if there's a complicated case or an EKG, for example, I want him to take a look at just to get a second set of eyes, I text it to him and he looks at it, things like that. So it gives you a lot of autonomy to practice medicine as well. Tuition's a lot cheaper than going to the medical school route. And the lateral mobility that I was speaking to you about earlier, being able to switch fields. These are definitely all the pros. So going back to your question, as far as what I would tell someone, just make sure if you're starting early in the PA round, that's something that you want to do, make sure you take out the time and you have the work ethic to make sure your GPA stays up. Like because it's very competitive to get into. Your GPA plays a big factor into it, and in order for you to have a smooth path to getting to PA school from college to PA program, make sure your GPA is up. The other thing is, you have to get healthcare experience hours. So some things that you can do, for example, is become an EMT, become a paramedic, become, a lot of RNs, nurses go from nursing to PA. Try to get some medical experience while you're in undergrad in college.
Do you offer some sort of mentorship or guidance if somebody needs some questions, or they want to get help join your maybe company, or if you're expanding, or if they just need a job and you can guide them? Is it okay if they reach out to you?
Yeah, absolutely. My personal Instagram handle is Coding Medicine, so feel free to DM me and I'll be able to help you out at whatever the best amount of ability.
What's impressive about your journey, especially in terms of your product that you're launching, like everybody has an idea, everybody launches a product, almost everyone fails. And, you've kind of told your story as well, that you failed as well. And then what really captured my attention was that, you had told me about this thing that you had started, but I was like, okay, I'll just wait and see what happens. Yeah. And then, one day you sent me your link, and I went to your Instagram, and I saw that your app has, in thousands and thousands of followers, and it's growing exponentially. Like, it's just really skyrocketing. And so I wanted to understand, what is it about the app that just it's changing the landscape of things, and why has it caught fire all of a sudden? What's so special about it? I mean, it sounds like from what you said that it helps you apply for colleges. I get that, but why is it catching fire like this?
First of all, there's no product out there like it, right? There's nothing that helps you organize. So the fact that there's nothing out there like it, that makes us stand out. The second thing with any successful business, I feel, and we have a long way to go to get to where we want to be, is that you have to be able to solve a problem. If you're genuinely, truly solving a problem for someone, people are going to utilize that platform, right? People are going to use that product. So before, we came up with the idea, that's what I wanted to I did a lot of research to see, is this truly, before I invested my time and really my time into it, is this truly going to help somebody it's truly going to help them and decrease their workload to get them organized and increase their chances of getting into PA school, which is already so competitive. So when you have the competitiveness of the PA profession getting into PA school, there's no other product out there. I think these are the key factors that kind of led to, or is leading to, the success of myPAbox at this point.
Yeah, well, another interesting factor that I see, so you've got that traditional approach where you're doing the things which are really needed, trying to solve a problem, and you tackle that problem, and then but at the same time you're kind of hitting tangents, you're going in really awkward directions. And it's interesting to me because I'd like to see where you land, because a few days ago you reached out to me that within that app you wanted to launch something to do with music, and you wanted me to give you my instrumental music to launch in that. So what does applying for PA school have to do with music? What are you trying to do there?
So see, that's a very interesting point, and that's where you kind of were talking to me, being able to think outside the box, right? It's being able to think outside the box. Sorry, that's my son.
Are you trying to stare at him through
no, that's my son. And listen, and sometimes when I'm doing business meetings, we're doing presentations for myPAbox, the same thing, right? Especially during COVID, because we're all stuck at home, really, can't really go out to Starbucks or to the office, but so the main I lost the train of thought. So you're saying, as far as tangents, how music is going to be interactive with that, right? So you look at where our target audience is. Our target audience is primarily college students that are taking all these science courses to get into PA school, right? Organic chemistry, physics, this and that. What do they do when majority of them? How are they studying? They go to the library, they put their headphones on, and they listen to music when they're studying. And a lot of them listen to instrumental music, right? Because with lyrics, and especially for me, when I used to study, when I had anything with lyrics, I wouldn't be able to concentrate on what I'm studying. So I like playing instrumental, mellow, sometimes classical music, just to kind of,
zone out,
break that silence and zone out, right? Exactly. So that's where I approached you. I was like, look, we have all these college students that are using the platform. These college students are studying on the weekends and this and that, going to the library or at home. why not create like an instrumental soundtrack that's from myPAbox, helps you kind of,
So it
get
seems
your
like
music
it
out there.
seems like you're kind of like now expanding into an like 2-3 different spaces, you know. So like,
Yeah,
sorry,
yeah,
one space is obviously the applying to schools. The
yeah,
second space now you're entering is creating a learning environment, and it
correct.
seems like at some point you will jump into education as well. Are you trying to create a school at some point?
That's an interesting question. That's something I actually brought up to my partner a couple of times, but as of now, no.
Okay.
But that's something that I would like. I always like teaching and like kind of passing my knowledge on to other people. So that's why I even like precept the PAs for that are students right now. I enjoy doing that. But that's something that we could possibly consider in the future. As of now, it's not on the plate.
Okay, so this
Um,
would be the music playlist or the music aspect that you're adding to. It's kind of like
yeah,
while they're going through their application process,
yeah,
what's the purpose behind it? What are you trying to achieve? I understand you said that you're trying to give that zoning out effect, but
yeah.
why are you tying it to this app?
To create a brand, right? It's like, okay, if you have, for example, if a student's going to the library to study, or they're about to start studying, they want to put on music, and if they know myPAbox has a study music list or a study music playlist, they're going to go there, and it's going to help increase our awareness, right? So the more, it's like with anything else, the more audience you have using, and I kind of wanted to do this on YouTube, right? Like on our YouTube channel, have that study music playlist. The more people that are coming and watching and clicking on that playlist every time, because the music is good, it's relaxing, they can focus while they're studying, you're building an audience. It's just more viewers that are going and clicking. So, and building an audience in this day and age is very powerful, right? As long as you're providing them with some type of value. Now, the other thing, for example, that music is one aspect. The other thing we have in myPAbox that we just launched about 2 weeks ago is a resource section. In the resources, we have stethoscopes for sale through Amazon. We have GRE review books. We have like exam prep books. We have, like practicing suturing, stitching kits, things like that we're selling on the website now through Amazon, right? So it's like, okay, you have a platform, you built an audience. Now it's like, how can you provide value? Because like, remember, these students eventually need a stethoscope, right? They need to be able to listen. So if you already have the attention of the user that's using your platform, now it's like, how do you branch into different revenue like, because for example, for myPAbox, you need a subscription to use it. It's $65 for the year, so it comes out to less than a cup of coffee a month. So it's, we didn't want to price it too high because we realized that it were college students that were using it. But now we did that. Okay, that's working well. People are finding it helpful. Now, okay, like what other value can we bring that people are going to use, and it's gonna help us, monetize and help grow the business.
So for somebody who's like new and to the whole PA world, does your app actually help them? I mean, I guess it does, right? Because you're using the PAbox app to see which school would be a best fit for you, right? And that's the starting. That's like step one is your app, basically.
Yeah.
So you come to your app, sign up, and then the PAbox will help you. You will provide your information to PAbox, and then PAbox will show you which category you should apply for would be a best fit for you. Correct?
Which schools you should be applying to? Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Is the artificial intelligence aspect of like the matching of the school, is that implemented yet, or that's something future that you're in the future?
That is part of it is, yeah.
Okay.
So it will, once you put in your stats. Can I share? Would I be able to share my screen or no? No.
Maybe you could provide a link in the description that I can put a video.
Yeah, I'll send you a link, like to our YouTube video that does like a walkthrough of it, of how the school match feature works, and it actually recommend, like, you put in your GPA, you put in the classes that you've taken, and it will recommend certain schools to you based on the stats that the school has accepted in the previous cycle.
Okay.
Right, so like that helps you increase your chances of getting accepted to a program.
Got it. Yeah. Sergio, last thing I wanted to ask you. I know you've been through a huge journey. Like, I mean, I remember you since since you were a kid, right? So, I want to know from you. I mean, I don't want to ask you what are the lessons learned. I mean, that's I would like to know. I think you as a person are really good in judging character. I think you've met many different types of personalities, and I think you're very creatively gifted. So what would you say are things that you've learned about human beings that you would say watch out for and look for, that can help you grow as an individual?
Oh, that's a good one. Sincerity. I would say that is, in a nutshell, if you're putting it like in a big umbrella term, that is a big one, right? Like, because for example, if I come to you and I ask you like, hey, I need help, or I'm starting a project, or I need to, do something, and whether you say, okay, yes, I will help you, and then come through and follow through with it, or you say, hey, no, man, this is something that I'm not interested in doing, right? Just being sincere right from the beginning, I think, kind of helps you navigate like how you're gonna, like, working with that person, and like the resources that person's able to provide. So as far as human nature, I feel like that is a big factor. Like, just being around people that are going to tell you as it is. A lot of people, like, I personally don't like yes men. Yeah. So I feel like that is probably one of the biggest things, like, in a nutshell. Obviously there's a lot of other factors as well, but that, like I was saying, like, not having a yes man, right? Like, I personally don't like yes people around me. Like, tell me, if I tell you something, or I'm coming up to you with an idea or something, like, I'd rather have you rip it apart and tell me how it wouldn't work or what the flaws are, so I can go back to the drawing table and fix it, right? So having someone that challenges you on a constant basis, I think, is a very good thing. To surround yourself with those type of people. Yeah.
And on the negative side, what trait do you think that has hurt you the most business-wise, and or what things that you saw in people that constantly in a business relationship you are wary of now? What things that you look at and be like, watch out from this person?
So a business, like with me and my partner, like my partner is also a PA. Like, something that we discussed a couple of months ago. Business is very similar to a marriage, right? Obviously, having a partner expedites your growth, right? Because, like, we can delegate tasks to each other, right? Okay, I'll take care of this, you take care of that. So having that understanding, as far as what to stay away from, I don't know, that's a tough one. Because every personality is different, right? Like how I'm compatible with my partner, I might not be compatible with you in business, for example, right? I think that really comes down to, like, how you work with that person. How much are you?
It's subjective based on the kind of personality you're dealing with. Yeah.
Correct.
But
Correct.
Is it like, I mean, you've had so many different companies and products that you've launched, and you've been through so many downfalls before you landed this project, which is becoming a success story for you. So I'm sure along the way you've started to become wiser in terms of who you work with and who you don't work with. That's what I meant. Like, are there some things that when you look at people are red flags for you that you can share, that maybe people who are on the same journey path as you could say, hey, avoid these type of individuals because they will hurt you in the end?
It's hard to determine.
You're saying it varies person to person, you mean?
Exactly. Like, I would say that's a very hard thing, because, like, I've seen so many failed businesses, like business partnerships, where things have been well with them, everything is going good, and then some factors they don't agree with, or they kind of start going in this direction instead of this direction, right? It's the same thing with, like, marriage, right? So I really think that's a very tough one to kind of, like, I'm going to think about that. I'll let you know if I get the answer to that.
Is there a process through which you when you get to meet somebody, or some proposal comes to do a joint venture or a joint partnership, or a thing that you're going to start together and build a business relationship, are you more of the kind of person, open-hearted, you will just start and engage, or are you the kind of person who will put a person through a test or some type of a subconscious evaluation, after which you'll be like, okay, I'll check this guy out?
So very, very good point. So that's actually happening to us now. We got some PAs out in UK reached out to us, and they have an app for PA students that are in PA school, right? So they reach out to us, and they kind of want to work with us to create a similar platform for the US students that are in PA school, not the ones that are applying, but are already in PA school. So I am more of, like, the open and work, and my partner is more of, like, the weary one. Like, hey, let's be a little bit careful, let's do this. And I think that's where me and him kind of have a yin and yang, where we kind of balance each other out. Like, we put each other in check. Like, okay, you're like, for example, he'll tell me like, hey, okay, let's take it, hold back a little bit. You know, you're kind of like jumping into it, and you kind of want to get all huggy and lovey and all right away. Let's kind of learn this person first, see what they're about. Whereas sometimes I put him in check, like, okay, Jacob, you're being a little bit too paranoid now. It's kind of, you know, we already kind of vetted them. We already kind of see where they're going. Now we have to take that risk, right? So that's actually a very good point. And going back to like that question, I think having a business partner that complements you and as well as is not exactly like you is very important, right? And just having that understanding, right? Like, so for example, with this new venture that we possibly might be getting into, it's tough. Like, at some point there's a degree of trust, right? That there's not going to be there's no one's going to kind of really screw each other over, and if that trust is not there, then that's hard to kind of move forward with. But that's where you have like all the legal contracts and things to kind of put in place to protect both parties, and that's very important as well.
No, it's amazing, man. For someone who's new in the game, I mean, you're a startup. It looks like you're covering all grounds. You're thinking about legal. You're thinking about business relationship. You're covering all aspects of the game, which is really it shows it's good signs. I'm really happy to see that. I think you're covering. Well, I mean, the success is it's obvious. I can see that your company is growing. Your product is growing. What are some of the new projects or things that are coming in the pipeline that you would like the audience members to check out? Is there something that you want to share?
So basically we're working on Dentalbox. Every year we plan on like the projection of, our roadmap is that every year we're going to be launching a new box, right? So really anyone that's interested in any graduate level, we're going to start with the medical fields first, right? So Dentalbox, RN, MD, Pharm, right?
Can you give me links to all these things so I can put them in the description? Anything that you're launching?
They aren't launched yet, right? So we're working on Dentalbox yet, but as soon as they do, I'll send you the links. But those other because really it's like a small team. I do some of the coding. We recently got 2 developers in Italy that we brought on board about like a year ago to help us kind of like code, because at this point we needed a little bit more professional help than only what I knew, right? So it's relatively a small team. Obviously, the bandwidth is a little bit. We have very little bandwidth, but main goal is to every year launch a new box, right? Like that's the thing. Starting with dental first, and then possibly medical school next. So those are the 2.
Shajil, thank you so much for your time. I know you're a busy guy, and I love what you're doing, and I can't wait to see where this thing takes off. And if you become a billionaire before I do, send a few millions my way.
I doubt you're probably going to hit it before me. You just need that one song. By
the way, I'm launching my next single in like a week or so. You'll check it out.
Oh, are you? Nice.
Yeah, the Rabbit Hole should be out soon. The Rabbit Hole.
Oh, perfect. The one that you told me about. Yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to hearing it.
All right, my man. Take care of yourself.
All right, Ahmed. All right, take care. Bye.
Bye.
You love that.